As recording.
Trying at it. Oh, it's good to tip us.
And just I have to repeat myself so hurt.
They, we are working with improving talent. Like, man, showcase, them student showcase.
All right, so welcome everyone to another episode of Mo Football and the continuation of my trip to Tampa Bay. And today I have two gentlemen that I guess will make it a little different today, where we'll be doing a lot of African football talk as well, and some very well-traveled gentlemen. So thank you all for joining. So should we start with a quick introduction with Coach Idio?
Okay, my name is Eddie Oyakilome. Let me see, what can I say? I played the game. I'm from Nigeria, grew up in Nigeria, played at the youth national level, and from there went to Europe and played in Europe. There's a lot of stories behind those, but then I transitioned into the U.S., where I went into college and got my bachelor's, my master's, and my double master's. So a brief introduction from that aspect, but I'm sure when the interview continues, you get to know more.
Yeah, so it's, as you can see, we're talking a lot of high school soccer. So he has not only double major and double doctorate, so school and soccer together do match, right?
That's
You
right.
can play all the way to a certain level and make it out there. So
Absolutely, because soccer is a vehicle to get your education, and I was able to take advantage of that. Yeah, yes.
excellent.
Gori?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Gori Dean. I'm Eddie's business partner for the Captain Soccer Agency. And I grew up in Nigeria as well, moved to Canada, and then now the US. My kids grew up here, and my son and my daughter went through the high school soccer program. So loads of experience as a parent supporting the children through that pathway. So I'll be able to offer you a couple more insight.
Awesome.
Parents, but
So we have coach, we have parent. What more can you ask for?
what you
Yes. So Elise, could you tell us a little bit more about your playing days? So we did had that one meeting with the Champions League, and we heard that good story of you having to hide and shave to make it to cut to soccer. So for those listening here, could you tell us a little bit about that story and how you came about make it to
Well,
U17?
Yeah, Coach Jim would never let me forget it, and so which is great, because sometimes when we have to look back to our childhood, it brings back those memories. So there was a situation where I went to a tryout, at the youth level in Nigeria, and there were over 500 kids trying out, maybe about 20 coaches back then. And, in Africa, we don't have the system of registration, birth certificate, and all that. So you just show up. And it was a 2-day tryout. That the first day, I managed to go through half of it, and then I got tapped on the shoulder by a coach. That means you're cut. All right. Now the torture began from when you're cut, because you had to wait. I had to wait for my friend, because he was his bike that we came on, and waited a few more hours. Finally, the end of the day, we rode back to our house. Right before getting home, I knew something's waiting for me at home, but I wanted to go back the next day. So I stopped by one of our neighbors, and I said, "Can you shave my head?" Right? Back in those days, right? Back in those days, Afro was the thing, right? And my mom had an hairdressing, boutique, and so I was proud of my Afro, but I had it shaved. I said, "I don't want it shaved totally," so they shaved it up. I got home. My mom was mad at me. "What happened to your hand? This and that." I said, "Well, I borrowed somebody's comb, and I was afraid I caught lice or fleas and whatever." She wasn't impressed, but I had to come up with something, because the reason was I wanted to go back the next day, right? And lo and behold, I went back to that tryout. I stayed away from the friends that knew me, stayed away from the coach that caught me, and managed to make it through. I think I was a 26 player picked for that squad. So saying that, I think the lesson I learned from that is I allow kids to be creative, right? To be themselves, to find ways to solve problems. I didn't know it back then, but if I have to reflect back, and that is the importance of that story.
That I think that the most important takeaway is his hair never grew back since.
Well, it worked in his favor. That's
It did.
small
It
sacrifice.
got me going, yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Yes. So, Gori, with your experience as a parent, seeing your kids going to the Progress High School and others, what was, I guess, one of those key takeaways on one, as a parent, seeing your kids going through it, and two, seeing your kids determination or drive to go to the from high school and so forth.
Right. So my kid, particularly my son, played club soccer and then high school. And high school soccer there was more camaraderie, I would say. The playing field was level, and just the experience and the joy that you're contributing to the school. I remember this first game he scored a goal. This was playing for his coach. He was very motivated. Beyond that, he went on to try out and play. He played in Europe, a little bit in Spain, and a lot more in Germany before he came back. But I think as a parent, there is nothing warms your heart more to know that you're supporting your children through what they're passionate about, and seeing them succeed, seeing them have a sense of belonging, adding value to a community. I think it warms your heart as a parent, and you want to continue to do what you need to do to support.
Yeah. Yes. So I guess for you on the parent side, that's for high school. So for you, Eddie, on your side of coaching and others, how does this Champions League high school kind of work with your coaching experience in what you're doing overseas?
I'm going to approach it both sides because my kids actually played. My daughter played high school and played club soccer, right? So I'm going to address that from a parent's perspective. I wish the Champions League was on when she was playing, because I would have preferred her to play Champions League high school over clubs, and for a couple of reasons, right? Club soccer is even more expensive now than it was then, and just the beauty of representing your school, playing at a Champions League event, right? It's different, right? You're dealing with your peers, you're going to school, and the coach, it's giving you the environment, right? And the competition level of Champions League, in my opinion, knowing what I know from a coach's perspective, it's higher than club soccer, okay? But club soccer, in my opinion, is glorified. It's too expensive. The talent is diluted, right? But then you have, Champions League here, St. Louis, South Florida. I mean, the level is increased a lot. And I think, we have to focus more on the fact that education is key, right? But they can get the best out of both worlds when they play Champions League football or soccer. And also, let's now go back to Africa, right? I had my opportunity because in Africa, we don't call it Champions League, but we call it Principal Cup, where the cream of the crop, all the teams. If you speak to any Nigerian about soccer or football, their high school soccer was the peak for us, right? We didn't have no youth soccer, and majority of the national team players from youth level to the top team in Nigeria all came from high school.
Nice.
So I've always been a big proponent of players playing high school. And as a coach, when I had the older boys or girls teams, I always encouraged them to go and play high school. So Champions League, in my opinion, is a higher level option. There's still schools that are not participating in it. If there's a way, we can get the schools to get involved at the national level, playing Champions League high school, I think, the grassroots level would increase. We have more, I'm not going to use the word control of parents because the infrastructure is there.
Yeah.
we should do more with high school and less with club soccer.
Okay. Yes, and I think that'll probably be a very long conversation on that club one. So I think one of those things that kind of draw me also to the whole Champions is it's almost makes it feel like, when you're doing World Cup, for example, where that the players that you have at your disposition is because of the players from that specific country. You don't have to, cherry pick those players. Yeah. And then when you represent your region or your school or your town, that little bit of that pride will take you sometime even bigger than somebody that has more skills, because you put maybe a little bit more effort on it because of representations. So what would you guys will say, since you've been in the whole club, parents in high school, one thing that kind of differentiates the experience that you have in high school, is there one thing that you outside of the playing field that you'll say this is it for?
I'm going to answer that. I'll give him the mic for now, but I have something to share with everybody on that.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I think being a parent, I experience both. The first thing is the cost, and the play-to-play model, where sometimes you feel that because everyone's paying, I'm talking club soccer now. It's not merit based. It's not what you plan, but it's really distribution of time. Okay. But at high school, depending on what I found, depending on the coach, there is a disciplinary bit as well. Where it continues from school, started from classroom to the field. Maybe a kid comes late to practice, but did not show up for practice days. They don't automatically play because the parent paid for them to play. So the coach has the latitude to really run that team and teach or extend to the kids a sense of accountability and responsibility, not responsibility to themselves, but also to their peers that are players. So I saw a lot more of that in the high school model, which essentially teaches the kids character than at the club level, where regardless of what happens, I paid, you pay the same amount of money, so I get to play as well, regardless of what happens. So I saw that. And the second bit is just the environment, right? There was not a lot of, in club soccer, you see a lot of parents is tense as though we're, watching a Champions League game in Europe. And that pressure also, you see some dissension amongst the parents. In high school, on the other hand, it's almost, it gives you that festival feeling, so the entire team, the students are there, some are challenged, there might be some other instruments brought to cheer. So it gives you a lot more feel that you're watching a game that is backed by community, by a group, and everybody, like you said, it puts a lot more on the line than if it was a club. So that's my take on it.
So now, let me give you an example. Every Sunday, we get on a Zoom call with my high school, friends that we played together. We actually set the history of winning the first Principal Cup for that school. So you're talking 38, 40 years now, and we're still together. We meet every Sunday, right? So now compared to the teams I've played for in Europe, right, that is the bond that high school brings. That's the joy to say after 38, 40 years, we're still able to see each other, speak to each other, get on the call, right? And that's from a player's perspective, playing in that level, right? Now we come back to the high school system here. When your friend is in class, right, you're in class together, that bond is there, you're studying together. Now you get on the school bus, you're going to a game, right? We don't have that. Parents are driving these kids everywhere. But in high school, Champions League, the kids can make decisions, right? The parents are not there. They get on the school bus, they play, win or lose, they get back on the bus, and they have the coaches that making sure that everything is ready, preparing them for college, right? I help kids get into college as well. But I found it easier to work with those high school players that cannot afford to play club soccer, but they're very structured and disciplined because they get that from the school environment, right? And we also have that if we tell the parents that the kids are going to stay 2 hours after school to get ready, and train, the boss would take him home. All those makes a difference, in my opinion, right? And it's less expensive.
Yeah, and I definitely say that's one of the parts that I guess sometimes is forgotten, the right to the game and the right back home, especially when win or lose. If it's losing, you can't see all your teammates, the faces. The coach has to then give you some type of speech or motivations compared to, I guess, once sometimes your club is, you get to your own car, you have everything in mind, and then it just brew, and sometimes it's not go the perfect way. So I think you definitely missed that part of.
I'll give you one example. I coach Academy at the Lakes, right? It's a private school. And we built a program. And in most times when we play away games, right, parents would drive to the game. But most of the times the kids would tell the parent, no, I want to ride the bus back to school, back to campus. So now the parents have no choice but to drive back to campus and pick them up. What does that tell you? That means the environment that we're creating for them is important to those kids. It's important to their teammates, knowing that, hey, we're going to get change in the bus, win or lose, everybody just ride the bus together. And to me, that's invaluable.
Yes, awesome. So I understand that you do, I think, a lot more outside of just high school soccer and trying to kind of bridge also American soccer and African soccer.
Yeah.
So can you guys tell us a little bit more about that, and also with the CAP agency, and give us a little bit information about those two programs?
All right. It's a two-part to it. I have a soccer foundation established to support kids and help kids locally and internationally. So I get supporters like Jean and other local supporters. So I sponsor kids from abroad, right? We also have the sports agency where we mentor and place players, right? And what we try to do is create a pathway for these kids, African kids, because we have good players there that needs an opportunity. So our role is to provide those kids opportunity. I'm always going to Gambia, Senegal, have an academy there as well. The important part about that is we try to help these kids have a better future, right? And we do player representation. We have players playing in lower level division in Europe and some other leagues in Africa. But at the same time, with our agency, we're helping these kids navigate the process of college recruiting, right? And, we don't charge them anything because we just want to help and create the opportunity for them. And so getting through high school and navigating the college process is tedious for the parents, tedious on the kids, especially in their last year, their senior year of high school. We want them to be committed. We want them to enjoy the final year of high school, right? And the college recruiting process here is too time consuming. So we try to streamline it. I'll let Gori take it.
Yeah, I think even on we CAP agency also looks at players around the essentially around four, and our mantra or our vision is to make it player centric, right? FIFA's done a lot to really safeguard players and restrict how some agents play on players, which is really good, and it ties a lot into our vision. We saw that, but there's a lot more. There is the psychological part of this game. I mean, everyone that's played this game, or 50% of the game is kicking the ball on the field. The rest of it is the mental fortitude. A lot of these kids are going to be playing away from friends, and do they have a support structure? particularly the agency that's supposed to be represented, and is it providing those resources to continue to support them through their journey. And that's what World Cup agency does. With regards to players from Africa or underserved areas, I think I'd said it right. It's just how do we give them the pathway? Because for some of them, soccer is the only hope there. Yes. And we also make sure with technology now these days, we make sure that all of our players go get some sort of education. Courses. That's another thing we do. Their online education now that they can get certificates based on this. So we really meet with them and find any other passion or interest they may have outside of soccer. And we marry the two and introduce them to courses and programs or certificates they can take online while playing soccer.
All right, so I think that's excellent because knowing that I've also played in those academies and all of them in Europe, there's always that path where they know that if you are not going to make it to the pros, then they also then introduce more of, hey, there's coaching, there's sporting director, there's sporting, directors of operations. So it's definitely good to see that there are people that will concentrate on the soccer football piece of it, but also say that, we all have a short life athletics span. Mm-hmm. So after that, when you're 30, 40, you got to find a way to work and pay the bills. So.
And Eddie is an example of that. I speak of it all the time where, if he had a playing career, but his education has also really opened the doors. Yeah. And combining the two is just, you heard him, it's got 2 master's degree. And I don't think it's stopping from even a good easy.
No, my wife will not allow that. But, I lay emphasis on education, right? Because sports is great. I always use the term sports, it's a vehicle.
Okay. Yeah.
To get educated, right? Education will open doors for you, gives you cultural understanding regardless of where you are in the world. So we should definitely push more into education because not everybody can become professional players, right? Not everybody can have a lasting, unless you're Ronaldo, career. So at some point, our career is going to stop. Then what's next? That's why I'm going to go back to this high school and Champions League because it kind of lays the foundation for those players and those kids.
It does. I remember a question that someone asked my son. Said, what does playing pro mean to you? And we were thinking, will I get to play soccer? And so, no, it means that's where your source of income is. And after that, it took him through all the different departments at the soccer club. Met with the club manager, met with the business development team there in charge of marketing, and met with him, went into the squad science department, started to use data and analysis to help the coach prepare for the next game or debrief from the last game. So seeing the difference that their passion is not just to kick a ball. We wanted the 22 players on the field, but it's actually an ecosystem or an industry where there are different positions. If you have leadership traits, you could be a club president, somebody. So opening up the minds to that with education is really, really important.
Awesome. So Champions League, high school, soccer, education. What more can you ask for?
Now, I'm going to tell a story.
And Jim is over there smiling when he heard it.
He knows that. And this is one thing about being a coach, right? Coaching club soccer and high school soccer, right? Club soccer, win or lose, you shake hands with the coach and you go away, right? And I remember, I've lost many games to Jim, but we're not going to do it. And mercy rules back in those days with my team was very common, right? And we just played Jim's team, Carroll Day School, and we just got massacred, right? And the expectation was if we can hang in there to the half. And
to the half, you said, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Jim knows what I'm talking about, right? and so we lost the game. But the pity about it is my boys, they played hard. right? They put out the best they could, and we lost the game. And we shook hands and gracefully. And I debriefed my boys, and I get this call, "Hey, Eddie, come over here. You just mercy ruled us. What do you want?" So I went over there, right? And Jim introduced me to his players. I knew most of them. And he said, "Eddie, can you talk to the boys for a second?" I was surprised to say, "What you just beat my team and you want me?" But what I'm trying to say is just high school coaching is different because we're all educators, right? We're trying to teach these kids life lessons beyond the win or loss. And for Jim to say, "Hey, talk to my boys, share your experience." And I respected him for that. And I respected his players because they're willing to listen, right? Club soccer, we shake hands, everybody's done. Okay? And my kids got to wait to witness that.
Yeah.
So it was a win-win for me and my team.
So now I see why Coach Jim, anyone that he calls pretty much show up is because I'll show up time for it. Yes, so we'll definitely will be recording because I'm sure our talk will take hours upon hours. Yes, so I guess just as a closure, so anything that you guys would like to share with not only since you've been on the parent, the coaching, the pros, you've had a son that traveled around the world. So starting with you, any tips or for not only a parent but also a high school coach and someone that's promoting the Champions League?
I would say I'm going to start from a parent's standpoint. Parents should understand that education comes first, right? And they all know it. They should be able to put a weight on where they want to spend their money, right? Because, financial, we still have to talk about it, right? The cost of playing club soccer. And the disappointing thing about, in my opinion, is there's too many levels of leagues. It's more of an acronym leagues, whereas the high school at every division, every level, right? It's great because it allows them to stay in that academic environment. So the parents should look deeper and say, what is best for my kid? And most of the time, the kids want to play high school. Most of the time, the kids will prefer to be in that environment. But because we as parents, sometimes we get carried away with paying for it, so we push our kids to go and play acronym leagues, right? And then fast forward, even there are players that may not be able to make it to the pro, but they can let their passion take them to the highest point that they could. And from a coach's perspective, I think, right, coaches look down on high school because they try to monetize it in their mind. And I look at high school coaches, it's a thankless job because they're not doing it for the money. They're more or less volunteering because wherever high school coaches get paid, it doesn't cover expenses at all, not even close. And some coaches, Dave Wilson, for example, puts so much time in his program. I mean, he's brought my training staff over to Wiregrass just to run some endurance and physical training session, right? Because he wants what's best for his program, right? He doesn't get paid extra for that. But at the youth club level, it's been monetized to the point that the value, in my opinion, is not there. So coaches should think back and say, hey, I'm going to go coach high school because I'm going to change life. I'm going to mentor these kids. I have the tools. I have the resources, right? It's not about just the money. It's about changing life and helping elevate these kids. That's my take.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we can't overemphasize it enough, the value of education. And just letting kids have fun, particularly in an area where they're passionate about, while getting this education. So one of the challenges that I saw with my kid, and I think once I spoke with Coach Eddie about it, we were aligned, is how do we, what are some ways where the path to, if you can make pro, to get into the right university, it should not be this this difficult. So, there are solutions, or there is a solution for that's probably gonna launch this year. That will probably want to come back and have a conversation with you about once we see what this solution does, because I believe, and we both believe, that it should be able to streamline the pathway for the kids, not only while they may enjoy the benefit of Champions League and all, or beyond. We just don't want to drop them there, right? We want them to continue to have better lives as we cut into them. So we'd like to come back once the solution is mature enough to talk to you more about it and see how we can benefit the entire community.
Sounds like a plan. I like to plan ahead, so that works.
Right.
Yes. So so I definitely appreciate you guys' time. We had you wait maybe a little extra on there, but it looks like it was all worth it. Beautiful day, can't complain about it. So
It's a pleasure. I mean, time doesn't matter when you're in good company, right? We learn from everything going on, and it's just great to be able to meet with you and be here. I mean, it's football. That's our passion.
yes, it's not a bad view.
No,
I just saw a robotic, field line and just now. So it's an amazing facility. It's an amazing facility.
Excellent.
thank you for having us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.